If you have a problem with people who talk, my channel is not for you. Hello. This is the beginning of a very different video. It's not a mukbang, but it's also not a recipe video. This is a video where I fold dumplings until I'm done. And I hope you like it, because I asked you on Instagram if this is something that you would want me to do, and you said yes. So, hi, my name is Lisa and I'm the Viet Vegan, and today we're folding dumplings. So today I'm making wontons. This is gonna be a recipe that's up on the blog already by the time you see this. I have a bunch of ingredients in a bowl. This recipe is sponsored, but this video is not sponsored, so that's why it's not a proper recipe video. I just really enjoy making dumplings at this point, and I was like, you know what? I would like to make them on camera. I just like folding them, okay? It's really fun. So I have like cabbage, carrot, I have some light life ground in here, onion, a lot of garlic. And I just spent like half an hour chopping up veggies real fine. I did an experiment where I put these in the food processor and it just made everything too juicy and too wet, and it just wasn't very good. Chopping up the vegetables together yields a much nicer result. Oh my god, this is so cold on my hands. Much like a mukbang, I like to have like a theme to talk about. So I asked you guys on Instagram for questions that could help me, you know, fill the time during which I fill these dumplings. Because normally when I fill the dumplings, like I've made dumplings like maybe 6 or 7 times. Every time I do, I put on a show, and I really enjoy watching a show. I thought I would show you guys how I fold dumplings. So today we're gonna talk about 2020, my goals for 2020, how things have been going so far, and kind of, I guess, like a generic life update. This filling looks very good. I'm really excited. So traditionally, wonton filling is also uses like vegan shrimp, or not vegan shrimp, but I would use vegan shrimp. I didn't use vegan shrimp in this one because I just didn't really feel like it, but you can find vegan shrimp and you can add in some vegan shrimp in this and you just have like a lot more filling, and you can keep the same amount of vegetables that I have in this. It would just make, I don't know, it would just make things a little bit juicier, you know, a little meatier. And I think that's good, but I think I like it just on its own like this without the shrimp. If you wanna go more traditional with wontons and add some shrimp in there, go right ahead. All right, that's looking pretty good. I'm just gonna go wash my hands slightly because I don't need this to be like this. So I'm gonna wash my hands and I'll be right back. This is gonna make a lot of dumplings. I'm very excited, and I'm gonna show you how I make them. I just need, so first things first, we're gonna need some dumpling wrappers. So I have these vegan dumpling wrappers. They're not traditionally like wonton wrappers. These are Shanghai dumpling wrappers. I don't know the difference. I just know these ones are vegan. So these are the ones that we're using. I think wonton wrappers might be a little thinner usually. I see a lot of people make wonton wrappers from scratch too. Look, I'm already making a ton of dumplings. I don't need to also make the dumpling wrappers. It's not that kind of video, okay? You know who would put that much effort in dumplings? Mary. Mary's Test Kitchen would do that, but you know, I'm not as great as Mary. Mary is wonderful. I am not nearly as talented or determined. She's a very determined person. So we get our dumplings, right? I'm gonna make them in like the coin style. So I've made them in like a regular like gyoza type style before. For wontons, it's also traditional that you use the purse style, but I have really enjoyed this coin style. I also made like a parcel, like a bucket bag sort of situation. And you know, I just didn't love it. It was okay. It looked okay. My mom really liked it. Okay, so I've wet this sort of like corner, and then you're gonna fold it over and you're gonna seal everything together, and you're gonna try and get rid of any like air pockets. All right, so then you have this sort of thing. You can keep it like this if you're gonna fry them, because this is more like surface area to fry. But for soup, I'm gonna do like the sort of folded fish sort of thing. If you hold this up, this is like the gold coin, like the Chinese gold coin. And so that is the style that people do. I prefer it like this. You can also fold it in half, like rectangularly. So you can fold it like this way instead of this way. I just find that yields like too much, because when you fill it, it'll be like this. It's just too much wrapper in one kind of area. I don't like it. So this is what we're gonna be doing for the next like, I don't know, hour and a bit. I'm gonna probably trim this down to not be that long. You know what? Who knows? Well, I don't know where this video is gonna take me, okay? So I like a heavy, like a veggie heavy dumpling. A lot of these veggies will kind of cook down anyway and they'll be nice and soft, but, oh. And he's taking a shower and I can't really stop that. So if you guys hear the water running, that's him showering. We just tuck this over because the edges are wet, you just kind of press the dumpling together. You can seal the air. Wet one corner. You tuck it over. And ta-da, a filled dumpling. Eventually, once you get the hang of this will kind of become automatic and you're not going to think about it. You're going to fill this with about one teaspoon of filling. I wouldn't recommend going over, because if you fill it too much, then, you know, it'll burst. But you'll get the hang of it once you kind of realize what your dumpling wrapper is able to maneuver and what you're also able to put inside. And I found these at just like the regular Asian grocery store. Yeah, if you guys have been following along for a while, a lot has happened in like the last year or so. Eddie and I got married. We bought a house, not in that order. We actually bought the house first, then we got married. My dad died. A bunch of stuff happened in my family that I wasn't expecting, and I grieved a lot more than I thought that I would for someone who I had sort of estranged. There was a lot of stuff happening in my life, and there was also like a big project that I had taken on. I was really excited about it, but then I just sort of like had this like gut feeling that things just weren't really right, so I had to back out of the project, which is something that I have been wanting to do for a very long time, and it honestly was really like heartbreaking and upsetting for me to do that. It's not something that I will close my heart on forever. It's definitely something that I want to do anyway. I just need to figure out the proper way to do it. And I've been busy with a lot of other stuff, and I have like a lot of other chapters I need to close before I open up this big project. So it's just something that has to sit in the back burner for a while. But in the meantime, I have been having a lot of fun putting together recipes, developing a lot of recipes, developing like Filipino recipes with you guys. I've been a lot more consistent with putting more on the blog, Instagram, YouTube. I've been a little bit more, not like a ton more consistent, but a little bit more consistent than I was. Cause I don't know, when I first started the channel, I was like obsessed with doing 2 uploads per week, and it kind of killed me at the time because I was also working full time. I was working for like a marketing company. I still work for them, but I do freelance now. I'm not salaried like I used to be. I'm not full time anymore. So I do this for you guys full time. Honestly, I think I was like pulling like 80-hour weeks, and like a lot of people do that. That was so creatively draining because both jobs were creative, like this job obviously, and then my marketing job was really creative. And the burnout is real. I got so burnt out, and like my skin was taking like a big hit from just being stressed out about that all the time. And I was never off. And the thing about being like working from home or being self-employed on top of working like a full-time job, there's so many expectations, and there's always like an amount of guilt when you're not doing something. This is actually a question that someone posted in the thing that I had asked on Instagram. People were asking like, how do you get into the mindset that like productivity does not like tie into your self-worth? And that's been like a big sort of like thing that I've been focusing on in the last year or so, because I was so obsessed with productivity and getting stuff done and like, you know, maximizing the amount of like hours I spend and like getting paid for as much as I can. Granted, I still am not making that much money, even though I tried to like maximize my productivity. And it was just like burning me out and making me really unhappy. I could see myself really getting tuckered out. Like I'm not even 30 yet. Like I was like so burnt out, and I could feel like judgment from people who are older than me, who are like, you know, I did this and I worked harder, and like, you know, I did this grind, and like it's just part of growing up and part of like, you know, becoming the workforce and stuff like that. But I just find that mindset is just like so toxic, and like stress really takes a toll on you, and it makes people age faster, and it makes you just unhappy, and like life is short, and like if I die young and all of my life I've just been spent working, what kind of life will I have led? You know what I mean? Like if I'm not like happy in it. Like I obviously love working and I like creating things, and I think that is something that is important to my general happiness and health. Also, it like helps pay bills and, you know, is part of like contributing to society. It just didn't seem worth it. Like it just didn't seem so important in the end. Obviously I want to like create things, and I want to have fulfilling work, but not at the cost of my health. Because my dad died pretty young, and he was 55, and he worked so much. He worked a lot. He was a forklift driver, so he worked in factories. He was literally a blue collar worker. He did work really hard to like provide for our family when we were still a family. And he was someone who lived and breathed for his work. He only just worked. He was like a really hard worker. That's probably like one of the only positive things I can say about my dad, unfortunately. You know, he died at 55. He was unhappy in a lot of things in his life, and I just don't want to do that. I don't want to live like that. So here we are. My job is now on the internet, and I'm folding dumplings for you guys. And honestly, this makes me so happy. This is so like methodical and like exciting and like calming, meditative. but then delicious. I like it. It's a cool job. And I like showing you guys that you can like do this kind of thing vegan. I don't know. I think it's cool. Yeah, that's basically what led me to not really focusing on productivity as like a tool to measure my self-worth. I do value productivity, and I do feel really good when I've had a very productive day. But if I'm not, the way that I measure productivity is different from the way that I used to measure it before. So I used to measure it by like how much work I got done, how much I got accomplished, and that kind of thing. And when you're self-employed, not every single day is like a quote unquote billable hour. Not every day are you creating something, but you know, you're also building or like making room so that you can create in the future. So for example, doing taxes, I really need to do my taxes. That is technically like, I don't get paid to do that, but that's like necessary, right? For me to like continue doing what I'm doing. Cleaning my kitchen doesn't feel very productive, but it allows me to create more in the future. Going grocery shopping, I'm literally spending money, but you know, obviously that leads to creativity in the kitchen with different products and tools and whatever. I'm like creating such a mess on this table. I hope you guys don't judge me, but this is just, you just gotta clean it after, you know what I mean? And lately I've been focusing a lot on like physical health, because I've noticed that it makes such a big difference in my mental health. A lot of creatives will kind of go through this, but like the act of like creativity and like making things does cost you physical energy. And people don't realize that. They're just like, think like, oh, like, you know, I'm just sitting at a desk. Like, why am I gonna get tired? You know, you're using your brain and you're using energy to like create things, and that costs your mental health or whatever. So I've been exercising a lot more often. I signed up for like a local Pilates class at my rec center. It's actually really funny because since I'm like self-employed, I can sign up for classes during the day instead of like at night when there's like a lot of other people who are young. So in my Pilates class, it's like a lot of like older women. The instructor is like focusing a lot on like pelvic floor strength and like lower back stuff, which is like obviously good for anyone who's young too, but it's like not really a priority for me. She's like making us do a lot of Kegels and stuff. Working out often, doing Pilates, all of that has like yielded much more like energy for me in the long run for creativity. Over the last like 4 years of me being on YouTube, I've noticed like a trend where I go super, super hard and productive for like 2 weeks, and then I burn out for an entire week. And I used to try to like sit through and like try to just go at it and like still just try to pump out a video or pump out like a recipe. But the product in the end, like the recipe or the video, is just like actual garbage. I've just learned that whenever I'm burnt out like that, even though I feel guilty for playing video games or for watching a movie, reading a book, or like doing something that's not quote unquote productive, I would feel guilty about it. And now I just sort of like lean into it. If I'm sitting at my desk and I'm not working, if I'm not like as productive, or if I feel that like in a burnout, I'm like, okay, well, today's just not going to be a very productive edit day. And I guess that I need to do something else. So I'll either like watch a movie with Eddie, or like I'll play a video game, or like I'll do other stuff. I'll read, and I'll like sort of recharge my brain for creativity and like give myself the time to do that. And banking in and like sort of like writing in that sort of downtime has increased my uptime, if that makes any sense. Instead of being burnt out for an entire week, I now only have that like burnout for like a day, because I'm making time to exercise, to not totally crush it for like 4 days straight or like a week straight, which is stuff that I would do before. You know, that's not to say that I'm like being lazy or I'm not still hustling. Like I obviously, when I look at my calendar, I'm like, oh wow, like I've been doing a lot, you know, making time to like go out for dinner with friends, or, you know, just relax, or just like lay in bed for an extra hour or two. All of that has yielded to just like a better balance, and that I don't just burn out. That's not feasible for everybody. Because I'm self-employed, that's something I can do a little bit easier, and because I make my own rules, it's a little bit easier. And I've like sort of built up my quote unquote empire a little bit so that I can do that. Like I have that flexibility. It's taken me like 4 years to get to this point. Well, actually, it's taken me longer, because I started my blog in like 2011. So it's taken me literally 9 years to get to this point. It's pretty exciting. Sometimes I still like feel like a failure when it comes to like expectations of my family. Like I had like that tiger mom. I mean, she never told me I needed to be anything specific, but she always like pushed me to excel, pushed me to do the best that I can, and like be smart and get good grades and get into a good school and get a good career and all that kind of stuff. And I think that a lot of times I internalize this sort of expectation that like as the Asian child, as the oldest daughter of the oldest daughter of my mom's family, so like my mom's the oldest and I'm the oldest in our respective sibling groups, we're expected to do super smart, great things, right? I'm folding dumplings for the internet. I always feel this like I'm not fulfilling my full potential. In school, I did get really good grades. I didn't have like a crazy high average, but I had like a 92, 93% average. I got scholarships all through school. I have a master's. I did translation. I had all these like dreams to like be a translator and like translate video games and work all around the world and travel and speak everywhere. And I don't know what happened. I got distracted by food. But like the idea that I'm not like fulfilling my potential is still something that like kind of wrecks me a lot. And I've been thinking about it a lot lately because my cousins are like, my brother wants to be a doctor. He wanted to be like an engineer, and he also wanted to be like an IT person or whatever. He also wanted to be like a restaurateur, but like now he like is kind of really focused on being a doctor. And he's 15, so like that might change still, but like I can see my mom just like her eyes kind of like light up because like, oh, he wants to be a doctor. And like she's obviously not pressuring him to do anything, but I do feel a lot of that weight on me to succeed has been lifted. And I can just be the black sheep of the family that is an artist. Making dumplings. And that's not to say that like I'm not doing good things. Like I'm obviously really proud of what I've done here. I've like built this up. I have such a great community. You guys are so awesome, and like you guys are so positive, and like I don't know, I hear about other creators who have like really toxic comments, and I'm like, I get trolls, but you guys overall are like super great and super nice. And I think that I'm really proud of like creating a platform here that like I'm proud of and that you guys enjoy. And I think that I'm helping the animals and the environment by encouraging you guys to make more vegan options or vegan choices in a non-judgmental way. Basically, I am aiming to be the vegan that I wish was around me when I was going vegan, or like when I was thinking about going vegan, because I was surrounded by a lot of like really judgmental people, and I just like, when I was vegetarian, I just really wasn't interested in going vegan at all because people were so mean. And it wasn't until I met more like chill vegans that I was like, oh, actually I could do this. I could be considered a vegan. I would be okay with being called a vegan if I see other people who are like this. And so this is the kind of person that I'm trying to be. I'm trying to be the vegan that I didn't really have, or that I needed. And that's what I hope you guys do with your activism too. Actually, one of the questions that people asked me in the thing, I get it constantly. They're like, what do you do to contribute to animal activism? When people ask me that question, they're always asking specifically for like protest, like in-person animal activism. Granted, I've never done it. I don't have plans to do it. I know how to get to that point to do it, but that's just not something that has ever been of interest to me. And that's not to say that I don't think it's effective. I think that like a lot of those in-person protests, like I've been a part of protests for women's rights, for being pro-choice. I've done all those kinds of things, especially in school, but I felt a lot safer back then because I was doing it with work and I was doing it with other like peers. I felt safe. I don't feel safe necessarily being a vegan activist. And that's not to say that it isn't safe. I just personally, a lot of stuff has changed for me and I just like don't feel comfortable with that. But I applaud a lot of the animal activism work that gets done. I applaud all the people who like, you know, go undercover in factory farms and like show us that horrible footage, because that's like the truth, right? Like that's like stuff that like people don't know. And like people, if you're brave enough to like go in there and like show people the truth and expose that truth, I think that takes a lot of like bravery and strength and courage. And I think that's great. I didn't always used to think that. I've come around to it, especially because a lot of people that I know went vegan after seeing all those things. I mean, I went vegan after seeing that kind of stuff, but constantly pushing it in people's face personally is not helpful to me. So when I see people do that on like social media and stuff like that, I think that if that's something that is really important to you, I think that you can do it and it's fine, but it's really traumatizing for me. And so it doesn't help me. And I'm vegan. I'm already vegan. I don't need to see that, but I get that a lot of people do need to see that. The way that I contribute to animal activism is I do this. I try to be as much of a chill animal advocate as possible, because like when you go vegan, when you like see all those horrible things, you're like enraged, you're angry, you're upset, you're like, okay, I need to go vegan. And the next question, the next step is how do I go vegan? It's important for people to see recipes so that they can see that it can be done really easily. And I don't see a lot of people doing Vietnamese vegan recipes or Asian recipes in general. Like there are a lot more now than there used to be. You don't see that many people doing it. And there's so many different like ways that, and different cultures and whatever, like you can't just have like 5 or 6 people doing vegan Asian recipes. Like that's not enough. That's not enough people. There's obviously a lot of people doing Asian recipes in general on YouTube, and we need just as many doing vegan ones. It's like a point of representation too, right? The majority of people who are doing like Asian cooking channels, like Lauren Toyota, although I don't really feel like she identifies as like Asian really. Like she's half Asian, but she doesn't really like, I don't see a lot of like that culture kind of like pouring through her channel, and that's fine. Like that's like, you know, that's her experience. Like Rose, for example, shares a lot of like Korean recipes. Mary shares a lot of like traditional Chinese recipes. I try to share more Vietnamese recipes, but it's like we are not the only, like it's like one of each culture, you know what I mean? And like my experience as a Vietnamese person is not every Vietnamese person's experience. I grew up in Canada. I've been to Vietnam several times. My family, like my mom taught me how to read and write Vietnamese. I speak Vietnamese, not super well. My experience of like Vietnamese culture is from like a pocket of time when my mom and my dad came over from Vietnam, right? So like they left Vietnam in the 80s. They were boat refugees, and like that's the kind of like Vietnamese culture that they have sort of kept, and it's like a pocket when you immigrate like that, right? So I have like old school Vietnamese sort of culture and touch points. If I were to go to Vietnam now, there's obviously a lot of like similarities in the way that I grew up and like different cultural experiences. The language is obviously very similar, but there's like slang and stuff that like I don't know now, and like the swears and like the foods that are popular and for me growing up are like old school Vietnamese. And then there's like regional differences too, because like my mom is from Quy Nhon, which is like a province sort of like south central Vietnam. Oh god, I'm just gonna throw this sweater straight into the wash after this. My dad's side is like central Vietnam, and my mom's side is like she moved to Saigon after. I have like mostly southern, like I have a southern accent, and I have a lot of experience eating central food, but I cannot understand the central accent at all. It's like completely different. But there's like a lot of like regional food and like the cultural touch points from knowing the language, living, breathing, growing up in that culture that like I don't have. So we need more people who are Vietnamese and vegan to share the culture, because like Vietnamese food is not just pho, it's not just banh mi. There's so many different things. I've been hoarding a lot of recipes because I want to save them for a cookbook, which is why so many of you have been like, where's this recipe, where's that recipe? I'm like, I'm saving it for the cookbook, I'm sorry. And I have the recipes. This is going quite well, actually, when you compare my upbringing with my brother's upbringing. He doesn't speak Vietnamese as much as I did when I was at his age. And he has like a totally different family experience than what I did. So at the beginning I said I was going to talk about like my goals for 2020. I totally did not talk about them, so let's talk about them now. A lot of my videos have been like really wild lately, so I know this is gonna be a little weird that I'm like so chill. This is also me, you know? Crazy me is also me. Super chill me is also me. I'm a multifaceted person, okay? I have different moods. I'm so hungry. I actually haven't eaten anything yet. That's actually why I get so chaotic. I'm usually like really hyper and hungry, and when I'm hungry like that, I start doing weird stuff. Yeah, my goal for 2020, well, one of them is to read 20 books for 2020. I've read one book so far. I need to read 1.5 books a month, I think, to reach my goal. I've been reading the Throne of Glass series lately. And if I were to explain what that series is, it's basically like fantasy, like a fantasy book plus smut. I mean, it doesn't happen until like the third or fourth book, but then it starts happening pretty often. It's basically every like fantasy trope that you can think of, but kind of turned on its head. So it's like a female character. There's not like a damsel in distress, but it's like a prince in distress. It focuses a lot on like female friendships rather than love, although there is love interests and all that kind of thing. But it's just like focusing on like healthy relationships, and like it's just like really good storytelling, and like I can't predict things that are happening. There's magic, there's fae, there's valor and battles and like struggle. It's very cool. It's a very good series. So I just finished the 5th book. I started it last year, but then the wedding happened, and then my dad died, and then, you know, a bunch of stuff happened. Yeah, so 20 books for 2020. There's still, I think, 2 more books in that series I need to finish. I'm reading Tower of Dusk, I think, right now, which is really good so far. I'm really enjoying it. There's a character in it that I didn't like for a while. I really liked him in like the first couple books, and then after the 2nd book I was like, I don't like you anymore. But now I like him. So I'm reading that book. So a bunch of my friends are like really avid readers. I've been trying to make an effort to also include books by women of color, by people of color, just like a diverse pool of writers and authors, because they exist and I think they deserve recognition as well. So a bunch of my friends have recommended several books. I can link my Goodreads down below if you want to see what I'm reading, what I have read. I'm not very good at keeping that up to date. I am now, but like I've read a lot of books and they're not all on there. My goal is 20 books for 2020. It's not a very lofty goal, but it is for me because I haven't been prioritizing reading as much as I would have liked. I used to read a lot as a kid because I was like an only child until I was 14. I grew up in like a pretty small town and there were like only a couple other Asians, literally a couple other Asian families. And so I spent a lot of time alone. I wasn't allowed to like hang out with friends as much as like other people are. So I spent a lot of time by myself reading books, especially because my mom worked a lot and my dad worked a lot. My babysitter after school a lot of times was the public library. So I'd be like at school until like 4 and then I would go to the library until 7. Yeah, that was basically my upbringing. I spent a lot of time in the library. And so I'm a very fast reader if I just sit down and read. And I'm also like an addict when it comes to like stories. So that it happens with movies, it happens with shows, it happens with books. Like once I really get into something, I like need to finish it. Like I need to know what's going on. So I'll just binge read, binge watch, all that kind of stuff. I am a very fast reader in general, but some of these books are hella long. Really enjoying Tower of Dawn, really enjoying Throne of Glass series. It's turning into a TV show eventually. I'm very excited about the casting. I want to see some sexy characters. I also really want to read The Witcher. Eddie and I watched the show The Witcher and it was very good. Anyway, the lore of The Witcher and like the story of that in general, like I have always liked that kind of stuff, like Van Helsing and like monster hunting and all that kind of stuff. But that's always been really interesting to me. So I'm interested to dive into the books. There's like a lot of books and there's like a specific reading order that's not necessarily like the publishing order. So I'm excited to see how that plays out, because I haven't played the games. I'm not very good at like combat games like that, so I don't think I'll play the games. I might watch Eddie play the games. He played a lot of them. He played The Witcher 1 and I think he played The Witcher 2. I don't think he finished 2 or 3, but he played a lot of The Witcher at one point. And I find that kind of stuff pretty interesting. Pretty fun. I like monsters and magic. Anyone who doesn't think that's fun, well, you're just wrong, okay? I also really like nonfiction too, but not as much as fantasy. I've been trying to read the book Fed Up. It's actually on my bookshelf over there and it's judging me because I picked it up last year and I haven't finished reading it. Honestly, because it's like really triggering. There's a lot of stuff that happened with my ex that like I took on a lot of emotional labor and like it was so frustrating trying to explain why it wasn't okay and I would get gaslit all the time. It's so frustrating. And I'm reading it and I'm reading this book and I feel all the things that this author went through because I also went through a lot of them and it was so frustrating. You know, I have those conversations with Eddie too, but he's a lot better at like understanding emotional labor and I feel like we've come a long way when it comes to like dividing housework and like dividing emotional labor and like trying to figure out like that kind of stuff. It's something that I really want to finish reading because my friend Laura also wants to read it and I told her that I would lend her the copy once I finish reading it. But I think honestly I could have given it to her. She would have finished reading it like a year ago. Oops. Sorry, Laura. If you want, you can borrow it like now. I won't be reading it anytime soon. It's really triggering to read actually. Like it's just really hard for me to read because like those conversations are literally why my ex and I broke up. Wow, we're almost done. This was like pretty good. I didn't need a second tray. I thought I would. Good job, me. I'm also gonna try to read Magic for Liars. I'm really excited to read that. That's one of my best friends from high school. She's also like a really avid reader. So she has been recommending books to me and I'm like, ooh, I want to try that. Ooh, I want to try that. I feel like I should join a book club so it forces me to read. But then as soon as I join something that like forces me to read something, I automatically don't want to read it. Maybe I should join a book club. I think I would probably enjoy that. Enjoy talking about books, but it would expose me to certain titles that like I wouldn't have necessarily found on my own. Yeah, maybe I'll look into joining a book club. Is there like an online book club? I think that's like a Reddit thing. I'm sure that exists on Reddit, right? Like an online Reddit book club. I should look into that. What are you guys reading? Are any of you big readers? What do you got in your stack? What's in your stack? I don't know why I'm talking like that. Let me know what you're reading. Let me know what you're watching. Do you like this kind of video where I just make food and talk forever? Because I am a chatty girl. I would also argue that I'm not talking that fast. Normally in videos I'm talking super fast and I've had people complain that I talk too much and I talk too fast. I mean, I feel like those people wouldn't be here at this point in this video right now. Maybe I'll put it in the beginning, but I am a chatterbox. I do not shut up. So just manage your expectations right now. I also want to try like folding dumplings like a bunch of different ways too. Like there's so many different methods of folding dumplings. I'm only folding them like this uniformly because they're for a specific thing. But I also want to like develop different like folding, not develop, but like use different folding techniques to differentiate between different dumplings so I know which ones are which. I think two market girls and I are going to do buffalo dumplings, like buffalo chicken dumplings. And then I also want to do Big Mac dumplings. That sounds delicious. Yum, yum, yum. I also want to do like potato curry, like red curry dumplings. I tried dumplings like that at Steambox Dumplings in Toronto, and they had like vegan dumplings. Yo, those are so good. They're also so expensive. It was like $15 for like 6 dumplings. Which, to be fair, dumplings take a lot of work, take a lot of time. You know, it's a lot of money when I can just make my own dumplings. You can also buy dumplings, like vegan dumplings, at Asian grocery stores. They exist, and they are delicious. I have a highlight on my Instagram of all the different dumplings that I found. I went through like a really big dumpling phase. I love dumplings, man. Maybe I'll do a video about how I cook dumplings too. I steam fry them. I feel like I've done that in the past where I've shown people how I steam fry, but I can do a dedicated steam fried dumpling video. So good. I feel like I should also delve into some of like the Vietnamese style dumplings that are like, they're steamed in like banana leaves. Ooh, baby, those are good dumplings. But then also like watching Crazy Rich Asians and watching like the family like make dumplings together, and I was like, oh, that's so sweet. I want to do that with my family. I want like this to be like a thing where I like, oh, it's dumpling folding night. You know, the whole family comes along and we fold dumplings. You know? Do I have, I think I have like the perfect amount of filling for the number of dumpling wrappers I have. Y'all, did I do it? This is the kind of 2020 energy that I'm living for, you know? Oh my God, I just give up on the sweater. Can I fit all that in one dumpling? Oh, perfect, there's like 2. Hell yeah. 1, 2, that's 1. Boo, 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 boo. The last one. I'm very excited to eat these dumplings. Wow. I'm so impressed with myself right now. Good job, me. Probably gonna just tap myself on the back anyway, because this sweater is disgusting now. Speaking of 2 Market Girls, this is their sweater. I'll link to their merch down below if you want. It's made by Meat Free Athlete, so supporting vegans. That is so satisfying. Not only did I finish all the dumpling wrappers, but also all the filling. Wow. Oh man, I just dragged that into dirty stuff. I'm really excited. Okay, so if you guys want to make this recipe yourself and see what I do with it, I'll link the recipe down below. It's a sponsored recipe. Again, this video is not sponsored. I'm gonna make wonton soup out of it. It's so good. I love wonton soup. I hope you guys enjoyed this really wacky video where I just don't stop talking while I fold dumplings. And I hope you guys subscribe if you like this kind of content. Let me know if you want me to do more videos like this, because a lot of times I'll do a lot of this like sort of monotonous stuff in the background or prepare it off camera. But if you want me to do a video where I just do stuff like this, I mean, I imagine I'm doing a lot of dumpling videos in the future because I freaking love dumplings. But if that's your jam, if you like this kind of like chill vibe, let me know in the comments. Let me know what you're reading. Let me know what you're eating. Let me know how you're feeling. What are your goals for 2020? I don't know. I love hearing from you. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Again, I'll link the recipe down below. Like the video. Hope you have a delicious day. Bye-bye.